Most of the families that we serve are not gamblers, and very rarely do we find them spending their evenings at the casino. However, unfortunately, many people gamble their decision when it comes to Social Security. And we want to take that and we want to remove the gambling of Social Security from their situation. Find out how and what we're talking about on Consider This Program. Welcome back to Consider This Program. My name is Grant Sullivan.
And I'm Jamie Burton.
Jamie, let's talk about gambling. And we're not going to talk about gambling at the casino. I am horrendous. My wife, we joke, we were in Vegas just recently on a conference, which is weird. You know, it's funny. Most of the financial conferences happen in Vegas, which is really funny to me. You know, all these advisors come together in one of the most interesting cities on the planet. And, we manage money, and then they want us to go spend hours, which is funny, which is great. So my wife and I don't like to gamble. Many of the families we serve who are listening to this don't like to gamble either. Mm-hmm. We went to a slot machine once, Jamie, and I put in $20, and I ended up losing like 25. I didn't know how it was possible. So my wife's like, yeah, it's your luck. So we find that gambling, oftentimes people don't want to do. But sometimes when it comes to making financial decisions, they're gambling with something they don't understand, mm-hmm. and it can lead to significant losses. And so for us today, are you willing to gamble with $500,000? Now, most people, Jamie, would say, if it's not my money, I'll play with it all day. But unfortunately, guys, this is your money. Mm-hmm. So folks listening, this is the money, your money we're talking about. And the money, the $500,000 we're discussing actually is Social Security. This is one of the topics that most gets listened to, and it's oftentimes, for us, a topic that we talk about so often and we almost know it like the back of our hand. But when making Social Security decisions, we have to bring back in old historical beliefs, look at what those are, dissect those, and then kind of walk into what are some more appropriate decisions for our families. Because listen, you put money in the system, and the last thing we want you to do is take it out and then suffer consequences down the road that are also oftentimes irreversible. So Jamie, do me a favor. Let's talk about Social Security. Mm-hmm. Help us understand when you can take it out, and if you wait, some of the values that really come or some of the valuable things that come your way when waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really when deciding to take Social Security is such an emotional thing for a lot of the families that we talk to, that we bring in, because like Grant said, there's such old beliefs about Social Security and it no longer being there, and am I really going to get the benefit out that I paid in? And what we see is that people are like, hey, age 62, when I'm first allowed to start drawing Social Security, I am going to sign up for Social Security because I've been paying into it for so long, and I have to make sure that I get the benefit out of it that I paid in. That's so, we hear that over and over and over. What we have to have the conversation with our families is that, yeah, you can draw Social Security at age 62. You can also wait until the age of 70 or any time in between. So when you're looking at Social Security, you have what's called an FRA. It stands for full retirement age. So we'll just assume for this example that we're talking about age 67. So anywhere from age 62, when you can first draw Social Security, up to that full retirement age of 67, if you take it a year earlier than 67, you lose 6% of benefit. Each year from 62 to 67, there's a 6% benefit that you lose when you take it early. And that is a benefit that you don't get back. You lock that in. You've locked in that loss of benefit. On the flip side, if you wait until after your full retirement age of 67, each year that you wait up until age 70, there is an 8% benefit that you gain for waiting until that age of 70. And that's a 8% that you might have other assets. You can't guarantee that you're going to get that 8% of benefit on the other assets that you've saved. So to be able to have this asset available to you that you know is going to grow by that 8% each year that you wait to take it, that's a huge benefit.
Absolutely. And Jamie, a couple key elements and iterations here as well. Social Security, if you go to YouTube and just type in Social Security decision, you're going to get so many different answers. You're going to have CPAs, big people with designations talking about how to take it earlier, why to delay. And realistically, here's what it comes down to. It comes down to your situation. And are you willing to gamble with a $500,000 decision without truly analyzing it from your perspective? Because here's the thing. When we're producing content, and we're in the same vein as we do this Consider This program, We're trying to give you as much education as we possibly can that would benefit the masses without knowing individual situations. And yes, many of the engineers that we serve, and Joe talks about this all the time, will come in and they'll have hand cranked out these calculations in Excel about, well, here's where I get the most efficiency dollar back, and this is why I'm going to do it at 63 and blah, blah, blah. And that's great, as long as you agree to die on time. And as long as the tax situation and tax code doesn't change, and as long as the system doesn't change. And so you have to factor in those elements, and what most people are trying to do and helping people make that decision is they're putting it in a silo, right, Jamie?
Right.
I mean, for those of us that understand farming or even understand teams, right? One player doesn't score all the points. They can score most of them, but not all of them. And you have to have defense in place. In every farm operation, they never look at it just as what's in that silo. It's an entire operation. So you have to include Social Security in your tax decision, your investment decision. Yes, it plays into your investment decision. And in one of our earlier segments, we talked about our earlier shows. We talked about how the retirement V for Victory plays a massive impact on your overall situation, right? And that's taking Social Security later and using your assets. I mean, there's so many factors that go into this delicate dance that we're doing with the IRS and with your future wealth. That one decision that we just craft, or that's crafted for everyone, does not make the most sense for a single individual when you're looking at their individual situation. Sometimes taking Social Security at full retirement age does make sense. We have had situations, Jamie, where we've ran the numbers for certain situations, and we're like, you know what? You probably shouldn't delay. And here's why. And so, but if you're not going to analyze that and just make a decision with your gut, right?
Yep.
And not truly look at your situation and try to analyze it from all angles, you're going to get yourself into substantial trouble. Because like Jamie said, and she's not wrong, if you make a Social Security decision, you have 12 months to pay all that money back, right? So let's say you accidentally took Social Security at 64 or 63 before your full retirement age, right? And you're 8 months in. You can reverse the situation, but you have to pay all 8 months of that gross income back to Social Security to restart. And if you're at month 13, sorry, Charlie, can't go backwards. And so this is why it's such a critical decision to make. And also, too, when understanding how to take a survivor benefit, some of the families that we serve have unfortunately lost a spouse. And, how do we take the benefit? Does a spousal benefit get to grow like it does mine? How do these things work? Now with all the things that change with file and suspend, I remember being in the industry when we had 590 different Social Security tactics we could deploy. Woo! I mean, the computer system couldn't even keep up. And after some administration changes, now we have far fewer. But still, it is a big decision to make. And for those of the families that unfortunately have lost a spouse or will lose a spouse in the future, it's just part of life, we don't get to keep both Social Securities. We only get to keep one. So building a strategy and plan around your Social Security situation is critical. Critical. Because what most people do, Jamie, you know this, you've seen it. They come in, they say, here's what my net's going to be from Social Security after Medicare. And this is what I'm going to live off of. Bada bing, bada boom. Don't need any more assets. Don't need this. We're okay. And then we go, well, that's great. So what are you going to do for groceries? Right? Or when the grandkids want to go to Disney, what do we do then? So these are situations that need constant analyzation. And so, Jamie, actually, let's talk about this. We do have a Social Security specialist on our team. His name is Dean Huddleston. Phenomenal individual. And he helps us run a lot of these scenarios for our families on when to make a good Social Security decision. And so if you're trying to look at your situation and go, what's best for me? Right, Jamie, what's best for me? Reach out to our team, right? And if you're a family and you're going through this, we'll probably already have this on the docket for you. But we can run that Social Security analyzer and figure out what are some of the best decisions for you. And here's the other piece of it too, folks. Social Security is not as simple as sometimes the educational content creators make it out to be. Right? There's a lot of moving pieces. What about disability? What about SSI? What about these things in my situation? Again, all takes individual analysis. And so, Jamie, let's kind of go back for a second. And because, again, most people are still racking their brains going, wait a second. But why am I told? Why do people keep telling me I should take it at 62? What are some of those old mindsets that we're trying to break? What were those?
Yeah, so people before, pensions were a very normal thing. People had pensions with their jobs, and that's what they could rely on when they got to retirement age. But the way that the pension worked is that they would retire at, say, age 60. Once they turned age 62, that pension benefit would go down with the idea that those employees that are no longer working are going to start drawing Social Security. So it was just a norm to file for Social Security at the age of 62 to supplement the benefit lost in your pension. So that is just in their heads. This is what you do. You file at the age of 62.
Mm-hmm. And the other element too, Jamie, is most people, they come to us and they say, my gosh, guys, the system's going to be broke, right? I mean, we're forecasting the Social Security system to have no resources in it in, was it 2027 or 2026? Can't remember now. But here's the thing, guys, and here's what we need to remember, is Social Security has a really, really hard job. They're trying to forecast interest rates, birth rates, income rates, all of these things 20, 30 years in advance to figure out where the system's going to be, right? And yes, I think their Social Security does have some critical issues that need to be worked out, right? But we do know that the Fed will step in some instances to kind of throw cash at things to make it right. Will they do that for Social Security? I don't know, right? Could they? Probably. But what it comes down to is Social Security for those of us that are still in our accumulation years of finance, who are a little bit younger in age, we probably will not have the same system that many of the individuals listening to the show will have left, right? And so Social Security system will largely probably remain intact. It'll have some modifications along the way, but please don't gamble this decision. Don't make a gut call on this. Don't listen to somebody who's trying to sell you a product to let you delay or to take Social Security early. This is a decision that needs consistent analyzation and constant overview to make sure you're making the right call. And if that's something you want, please reach out to us, 800-928-4001. Please schedule a Next Steps meeting. Brittany will be on the other end of that phone, willing to help you set up a meeting with the appropriate advisor. She'll have you bring in those Social Security statements for us to look at to make sure we're putting all the right information in our systems to give you the best calculation possible. If you have questions, reach out to us, yourlifeafterwork.com. One of our advisory team members will be very happy to help answer some of those questions. We serve many families in 31 different states. So this is not something that we take lightly, and we definitely make sure we address all Social Security situations for the families that we serve. So please reach out to us for Next Steps meeting. Look forward to seeing you there.